Good evening, senseis.
Hello.
Good evening.
So there is a proposition to talk about a change, but me personally, I have a problem with this category. I was trying to understand from which side to look at it, and it gives so many opportunities to approach a change as something very positive, something which can be like marking some kind of progress or transformation, can be also some kind of excuse or escape, in my opinion, in the way I was thinking. So first of all, I wanted to ask you, how would you define a change? How do you think about it?
So just to clarify, we're talking about change through practice?
Yes, but maybe also how do you see it in life? I would like to see how it refers to Aikido, or maybe later also to the practices like Mizogi Harai or Zazen or Zen practice. But
and change of human beings, not change on a wider sense of the term.
yeah,
are we talking about human change?
The change that we can observe in the others, the change that we can observe in us, the desire of a change that we have sometimes maybe, or the desire of students or something they express, they want to change, and how to work with it. Is it a useful tool maybe, or it's a good goal to set for them, or sometimes it's something disturbing which is blocking maybe from a process. I was trying really to see it from different angles, and it can be very different thing, and sometimes can be very positive and sometimes can be very disturbing. So yeah, that's why I'm not setting very narrow perspective on the very beginning, because I really don't know
Yeah.
how to grasp it. So this first definition of a change through your experience, your life is Aikido, so I can't imagine that it will be disconnected from this. So yeah.
For sure there are two levels, at least two levels, because the most simple answer is like this physical, technical progress in our students, because it changed itself. Yeah, they're getting better in Aikido. So this is even depending on the type of personality, but it's predictable. Yeah, after years of training, we have experience to teach people, so they change their form. They are more aware of the physical possibility, or the connection with the partner and the technique and everything. We can build it, but the more much bigger question is like all these deeper changes. Like as we were talking about that before, you said people coming with some imagination or like very abstract idea of change itself, which sometimes is bigger than, and not necessary even, something. They torture themselves with like trying to be someone else. This change can be really enemy.
Do you think that students start Aikido because they want to change?
That's another thing that I'm really like. It makes me think, because I've met on my years of being on a mat many people who come to the dojo because they feel they want to change something. Maybe it's really like some kind of a trigger, that something is happening in their life and they're like, okay, maybe this is the moment, so I try Aikido, and maybe with this some bigger change will happen. So maybe sometimes it's just fantastic impulse to do something that they or we were preventing ourselves till certain moment, and then it's like a spark, and then they appear in the dojo. But then it's another question for how long they can go on this desire, how much is a fuel for deep practice, because maybe it's something that burns strongly but very quickly.
Maybe the initial desire to change is stimulated by something difficult in their lives, and this is what draws people to practice from a perspective of practice, that they have some discomfort in their life, so they think maybe I will try this as a way of some kind of change or easing of the issue. And then having overcome whatever difficulty they may have, then the real questions start about, do I want to continue, and is change actually what I want? And I mean, it's a kind of a complicated thing to talk about, I think, really. But I think usually change is stimulated by discomfort, wouldn't you say?
It's usually, yeah, by extreme discomfort or despair or extreme curiosity, right? But I mean, whether people recognize it or not, everything is changing moment by moment. The universe is constantly in flux. So change is a part of every person, every human being's life, moment by moment. Nothing is ever the same. I remember Chiba Sensei asking me, how are you doing? It was a very simple question. I said, oh, pretty much the same. He said, no, it's never the same. Nothing is ever the same. It's always changing, moment by moment. But the question is, do I perceive it or not?
And I think that the aspect of constant change is also very difficult for people to come to terms with, because we have a tendency to try and find a stable situation of one description or another, whatever we're talking about. So we find some stability, and then something comes and changes it, and then we realize, oh, it's not stable. And so we're constantly confronted with the fact that everything is deeply changing, and there's actually not anything we can do about that. So we have to learn how to come to terms with that.
I'm curious how, as a teachers, how much consciously, how much with some prediction, you using maybe this role or a function of change in working on your students or working on the dojo, on the community that it's created around you, because it's also, as I saw today in Brzezinka, standing in front of the building, the faces that I see from 5 years, most of them, there are people coming, and this is these same people, but how beautifully different. You can feel that they are differently here than they've been last year and 2 years ago and 3 years ago, and they come with something else, with different confidence, with different desire, with different love, passion. How much it can be a functional tool, understanding of a nature of a change in the work of a martial art teacher.
I think one of the things that you definitely come across is if a student is not changing, then they run into difficulty. So one of the things you keep an eye on is, are the students shifting in some way in their practice? And as long as they are, the process is working. But very often there's a block, something gets blocked or something gets stuck. And at this point, my personal opinion is that as teachers, it's our job to try and help give them some stimulation to pass through whatever that may be, and help them to keep moving and growing and changing, going forward.
So, as you said before, many of them, they have very strange definition of the change. So the people coming with this phrase, which I'm coming here because I want to change my life. And they don't even know what does it mean. Very often we have people who are going through divorces, who are going through a sort of hard time, someone is sick, and then they come into the dojo and they're getting something and they're leaving. And so we are like a part of their change, but we don't have much to do with this. It already happened. So our definition of change, going back to the previous question, is pretty much different, much more deep than the definition of the people who are, because they say like, I'm gonna change, like losing weight, working less, or start running, this part-time, like a short-term challenges you do for yourself. And then, as we know, it's not about that. Usually it's about discovering who you are actually already are, and you're just pretending someone else. You're living not your life, you're living someone else's life, and it hurts you. You want to change something, but actually you're not changing, you're just going back to yourself. You're working in this corporation, it kills you every day, but the truth, you don't want to change your life, you want to be yourself, you want to stop torturing yourself with doing something. This is as I see it. But again, if I have 100 students, there's maybe 10 who start thinking about that, and maybe 1, 2 who will actually do it. The rest of the people, they just enjoy training, I would say. Maybe I see it like that. Maybe it's about our connection with those people. And the other thing is, I've met many people on the way who came, I knew they used to be my students, and they say, you changed my life, Aikido changed my life. And they say beautiful things, and I feel guilty because I didn't notice. See, it just happened itself. We create the condition, and it happened. So we're changing people's lives without even knowing about that, by creating these magic places.
Yeah, and I think Aikido itself is a channel for change. That it, as an art, it gives people the opportunity to go down that journey of self-study, self-examination, and then doors will start to open and understanding starts to develop. And sometimes I feel like there's not too much to do, just to make sure that it's available. That's all. Keep it as possible, keep it as clean as possible, as clear as possible, and make sure it's available. And because not all change is easy, so also being available is an important part of it. I think change is quite hard.
I think what Toko Sensei and Piotr Sensei are saying, that there's these conditions that exist, right, that perhaps provide an opportunity to be different. But the real question is does anybody change? I think about Piotr Sensei was talking about, we're looking for these certain people maybe to be the next generation. But are those people really changing, or are they just being revealed? Meaning that this person that has the capacity or the desire or the willingness to run a dojo or to be a teacher or to go deeper in the art, perhaps was always going to be that person, and the conditions and the opportunity just kind of revealed that. The person that's not interested in that, or it doesn't matter what the conditions are, they'll never do that. And so when you start thinking about that, on one level, is a person really changing, or is a person just becoming more of who they were always meant to be, or already are? You're just kind of taking away things through the conditioning. Maybe they thought they were supposed to do this and they were supposed to do that, but the conditions and the training reveals like, oh, actually, this is what I'm meant to do. So in some ways, and if you look at it like that, the dojo needs an immense amount of people to come through it so that you can find those people that were already going to do that anyways. And we're just kind of offering the opportunity and these conditions to help them see that about themselves. I'm not sure that somebody that is diametrically opposed to this or that can actually become that. There's to change, somebody said it's harder to change one habit than to find $10,000 in the street. To really take one habit that you have and change it and to radically let it go is so difficult. You think about somebody giving up smoking or changing that habit. That person has to really, really want that, like really want it. And even then, maybe it doesn't happen. So it's a question of when we talk about change, I think, is it possible? I think that's maybe one of the first questions, is it really possible?
Exactly, Sensei. I had the same thought beside the others. If the change is possible at all, if people can change, if it's just something that there is a potential to grow, but maybe to become something else, someone else, something different, to change life. Maybe it's mission impossible. Maybe we just need to agree for who we are and find this deep connection and to say, okay, this is it, let it grow. Let it be kind of blossoming in purity. So maybe it can be best of what it is.
It's interesting though to say if we can find who we really are, because that of itself is a tremendously difficult task. And we have many ideas of who we are, and very often circumstances come around and remind us actually that's not who you are. And even to do the work and to have the courage to really try and dig deep and find out who you are, I think that is actually the practice.
There was the story I told you because it's really touching for me from many years ago when Chiba Sensei was here for summer camp, and one of the students, who actually is here, had an interview with him. And this person asked questions like, how did you change because of Aikido to Chiba Sensei? And he was like, oh, I didn't change. I just know who I am. I'm aware of me now. So as I understood it, because I was witnessed it, I was like, I'm not perfect. I know who I am, how I behave, you know, how easy to trigger some things in me. And I'm trying not to hurt people with who I am, because I'm not going to change. We all know the story about the frog and the scorpion. It's your nature. You're going to do it anyway. And this is exactly what you said. Like, if you think like logically, the scorpion knows he's going to die. It's stupid to do this thing. Like, he will do it anyway, because that's his nature. So, is it possible for scorpion to be a frog? You know, it's a big question.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I mean, I have several students that they operate in many different ways, but just in terms of like, for example, how they move, right, on a very kind of like just physical level, or how they move, how they react to something in the dojo. There's some people that the way they move is very slow, like compared to other people, and some people move very fast. To take, for example, this one student that moves very slowly, to push them to go just a little bit faster is almost impossible. And then there's other people that constantly are running around, moving fast. To slow them down just a little bit is almost impossible. So, I mean, that's what I feel like when we're looking at change, what we're up against. Like, however you want to describe it, whether it's the ego or the personality that's been formed early on in life, we are all up against that. My own bias, my own prejudice, my own way of doing things. Like, I like to I remember in San Diego, we did, sometimes Sensei would have us do Iaido paired off. And I remember working with somebody, and like, I did not want to do their timing. Like, it was like, I would do their timing, and then they would do my timing. Like, I don't want to draw the sword at that speed. I want to do it at my speed. It's really, if you're really honest with yourself, you realize like, I don't like that. My way is to do this. So to really try to like just change like something that simple on like just a physical level. Like, I want my coffee the way I want it. I only want it with like 7 grams of half and half. I don't want it with 12. I want it this way. And then you give it to me and I'm like, it tastes too milky, right? Just, I'm not even talking about like kind of a metaphysical thing or like kind of a deep spiritual thing. I'm talking about like just my habits. My habits are so strong, they're so mechanical in this body that like to go against that takes a lot, right? And so I think when you see a student and they come in and you're like, well, I had a student the other day that came in and I said, well, we don't do it that way. Well, why not? I want to do it that way. Right away, they're not even like been in the dojo for like 4 months. Already I'm meeting that resistance. So that's what I think we're up against. And that's just like the very basic stuff. It's not that I don't have the belief that people can change, but I'm just trying to describe the immense, what we're up against from myself or whoever.
I think in a way, this camp is a very good example of this process. Like, it could be open camp for everybody, but the condition is very special. So it requires people who are able to take the fact that you have to clean after yourself and work, and there's really rough conditioning. So instead of changing people, we actually attract only people who are able to do it. And this is like exactly what you said about the dojo. It's like in the dojo you have to clean you have to have this personality to be able to go to clean the toilet. So there are so many people who come, look at this, and they live in. I don't think I ever change any arrogant person, ever. They never do it. We just attract, we create the home for the people who are able to do, and they're happy when they do it. This is, because I was thinking, okay, my job is, when I was a young teacher, my job gonna be like take arrogant person and explain, and they will understand. And they will start do this thing, and then they change their life. But maybe I'm wrong, but it doesn't work like that. So my gift for arrogant person will be to tell him, you are arrogant and you've never been told. And at this moment you're being this and this. Now you know what you're going to do with this, it's up to you. It's my job to do it. Or like you beating weaker people. Why? You have to do something with this aggression. Stop doing, I don't want this, and you have to understand, I'm here, I'm a mirror to tell you. You've been an asshole for the people, for those people. And nobody ever told you, I will tell you each time. That's my job. And you're gonna hate me and leave, but this truth is in you. That's my gift for you. Yeah, but to change, I never witnessed this.
Yeah, on the kamiza, there's the mirror, the round mirror. And when we bow to it, it's the opportunity to see ourself reflected back at us. And I think that the way that dojos and practice work is that we are constantly being reflected back at ourselves, because we're working with the same people and we are doing essentially similar techniques. And so through these opportunities of repeated work, we have an opportunity to see ourselves more clearly and more honestly. Because any stimulation from change really can only begin inside. Even if somebody tells you 1,000 times that the way you're behaving is not good, until the click happens from inside your own person, there's absolutely no way anything can change.
Yeah, that reminds me of this saying that is every initiation is self-initiation, right? I mean, the person that is, for example, like Ichikukai Dojo, like the people that want to go there will go there. They will go there. The people that don't want to go there, and the same thing for this camp, the people that really want to be here, they will make it happen, and the people that don't want to be here will have a million excuses not to be here, a million different reasons, and they're all probably good reasons. So that's true, and then at the same time, there's this concept in Buddhism that, you know, everybody eventually will be Buddha. Everybody will eventually be wake up, right? But that over a very long period of time. So the question is, for this person who may get it in this lifetime, and this person who may take, 500 lifetimes, what will it take for this person to change? Like and if we're talking about this person's living in a state of illusion or more deluded, or however you want to put it, what is it going to take for that person to wake up? What's it going to take for this person? Maybe this person basically like, wow, this is no good for my life. I change it like that. Like my mother used to smoke cigarettes. One day when she quit, she threw the cigarette thing in the trash can. That was it. Never smoked again.
Same my parents.
Right,
Exactly
so
same.
This is a very interesting kind of personality, that person that can do that. Another time, another person will smoke and quit 40, 50 times. And then I had another student that they drank, they tried to quit. The reason they became sober was because they woke up in a different state. They had blacked out and they woke up in a different state. So that person needed to be like absolutely at the bottom. And then they changed. So it's a mystery of like, what's it gonna, if you were talking about that it's possible even, like what's it gonna take for this person, what's it gonna take, right? And it may be that like us three running dojos, we're just like a small tiny stop along this person's journey, and maybe they get one thing, but it's not enough. And then for another person, they stop at our dojos, they're like, okay, this is it, and something happens. But I don't really know how, you know, I don't think I have, at least personally, the idea like I'm changing your life at all. Right? Maybe I'm creating these conditions, and even that, I don't think I'm creating the conditions, because when people said to me like, oh, you've sacrificed so much for this life, like, no, I don't think I could have done anything else. This is just what I was supposed to do. I just kind of embraced it. So then somebody coming in here, it's like, it's just, who knows, you know? It's like really a mystery. Like, what is it going to take for this person to wake up just a little bit?
So can I have one more question? Because you all three doing very strong practice, and Aikido, and Mizogi Harai, and Zazen. And maybe over the time, maybe in very subjective way, do you perceive some kind of a change in you happening, I don't know, because along with these practices, or as a side effect of it, or direct effect? How do you, because we, for sure, I mean, I want to speak for myself, I perceive a change in time, for example. As I'm getting older, I'm approaching differently to certain situations, and even without such a deep practice, you can have this kind of a self-observation, let's say. But how, when you are so deeply interconnected with yourself, how in time, in your cases, you perceive this element of change, thanks to these deep practices that you are involved in?
Yeah, in my case, I honestly, since I started doing Shogaku, at the beginning, because I had like a long break, I did Shogaku. I was the only person in Poland, so I had nobody to talk about that. You know my story. So I didn't know what happened, but I felt something changed. Something was kind of constructive, maybe not constructive, like basically broken, but not in a bad meaning, like a wall was fractured. But I didn't know what happened. I had nobody to talk about that. And then over the years, I was able to see the process. In my case, as I was trying to explain before, was this thing like, I don't want to pretend someone else. Pretty much I felt who I am, because this is what, over there, you're losing all the layers, and then you feel who you are. And you have to, if you don't want to cheat yourself, you have to deal with the fact that you look at the mirror. Pretty much, it's probably not the final stage, but pretty much I know who I am, and that wasn't the person I was living someone else's life, in many meanings. I don't want to go into details, but it took years and years and years, and completely changed my life. So this is my definition of, if we're talking about, this is my definition, very traumatic definition of the change, if it exists. So you have to, this is a scenario not for everybody, but you push someone to the corner when they actually are forced in a way, if they're ready to see who they are, then they have another look at their life, and it doesn't fit. And change will be actually to be honest with yourself and live life of the person who you are. You know that, especially in Poland, we have extremely big group of the people who are like super nice, like model fathers, always smiling, pleasers. And then you see them on the mat, they're monsters. And they relive it, and only here. You know, the sheep who is lion for the moment. And then they go back to their lives. This is one of the examples. It can be opposite also. There can be someone who's pretending to be tough, but he's a nice person. It's really interesting, but for me, that would be the most visible change I witness. Not only in my case, in many cases.
For me, it's not an easy question to respond to. I would say I don't remember myself outside the process of practice, is how I would put it. So there have definitely been very intense experiences along the way where I knew something happened. How to put words around those maybe is not easy to do, and would probably take longer than we have. But those moments, they were flashes where I thought, that's it. And then I'd lose it again. And then I'd have more practice and so on, and I would ask myself, why am I making, because some of the trainings we do are very, very rigorous, very hard. Why am I putting myself through this? Why do I need such hard training? And then bang, I'd have it again. And then I would know, that's it. And then I'd lose it again. And so it went on, and we're talking for decades. And then opening. And then there was like it's been a process of opening. But change is not a word I would use to describe it, to be honest. I'm not sure I have a word to describe it, but if that's kind of the best I have, I would say, to describe my personal experience of the process through practice.
Yeah, something similar to what Toko said, but if we're talking about a personality through time, there's not much that's changed in me. Meaning, like, I like coffee when I was 18 and I like coffee now. But if we're not talking about that, then it is like, as it is said is in Zen, it's life after life after life. However, people sometimes we tend to take this as like a metaphysical thing, meaning like I will be reborn into a different human body, right? But my feeling of it now through training is that who I was a year ago, who I was 5 years ago, who I was 10 years ago, it really feels to me like a different life. And that is over. And I don't know if that is through, I can't say that that's apart from training, that meaning like, as Toko said, like opening after opening after opening. I wouldn't say that like if I had never trained, that would not have happened. But I don't look at it as like this thing, this current is the same going through time, and this personality has become this and changed and done this and this and this. It's more like this life was lived, and then there was this life, and then there was this life, and then there was this life, and now there's this life. And if you're really clear about it, if we're all really clear about it, that life is really moment by moment. And that's probably as much as I can say about it with words.
And somehow that's when the work, I feel the work really begins, because then you have no excuse. Every choice has its responsibility.
But your question, it is a big question, and I think it's a mysterious question, is how I would say. Meaning that, like, what allows a person to see reality like that, or what allows a person who thought they were their personality not to see that they're their personality, or what allows them to see through, as it said in Zen, or to let go. That's a mystery. Everybody's karma, everybody's life circumstance is different, and who knows? Somebody can wake up like that, and somebody can die not knowing who they are. But I do think that the training, the practice can maybe help.
Something happened, we don't know what, but we created these places and something happened, we have no idea. They seem to be happy. Their life is, everybody's happy, even if training is hard. If it's changed, I don't know.
Yeah, that's really it. I don't know. It's almost like we, and I like hesitate to say we create these conditions, but these conditions are created, and maybe through the result of this creation of these conditions and this intense training, something happens. Something is revealed to somebody, but maybe not.
But they seem to be more happy after training.
So maybe with this positive perspective, it's a nice, unless you would like to add something, but I believe it's a very nice conclusion. I mean, that maybe change is something that you can't grasp, but
it's
somehow
definitely something that is very
participate
worthwhile
in
investigating.
It's worthwhile to investigate,
Yeah,
but I think to last.
Let's talk again in 20 years.
Yeah, that would be good to talk in 20 years, and I also think what Toko said, that the reality of change or really being in a different place is that I have nothing left to stand on, nothing, and that is an almost impossible state to stay in. Nothing, no answer, no place to stand on, nothing to hold on to. Sorry.
Thank you very much.
Well,